G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildcard. Thank you for watching my stupid contents. I do appreciate the pleasure and the privilege to entertain you. Today is actually Wednesday. I was supposed to make this video yesterday, but I was a bit too busy. But there will be no Nick White memes. It's all serious stuff. It's news day. We're gonna read what happened last week in the world of rugby. So yeah, let's get on with it. First up, Rugby World Rankings, everything, you know, this is the most important thing on all of our lives. Every week, we check into the rankings, and bad news for the Wallabies. Dropped to the lowest record ever, again, for the Wallabies. They fall to 8th, just below Scotland. Argentina going up to the 7th, and New Zealand, after beating Argentina, goes back up to 4th, ahead of England. Yeah, pretty bad stuff for the Wallabies. Losing at home, you get that bonus point loss. You basically lose extra points if you lose at home as well. That's kind of like how the ranking works. So yeah, Wallabies really hurt over the weekend after losing to the Springboks. And as a result, let's talk a bit more about the rugby on the Australian side before we talk about the game. So, as reported last week, there's a lot of talk about Rugby Australia looking to buy Suaalii, who's a 19-year-old player on the wing currently for the Roosters. And there's some talks about potentially paying him $10 million over, I think, like 4 or 5 years for a contract to play rugby union. Now, this guy, he's currently contracted to the Sydney Roosters, aka the Cox, and he basically has a clause in his contract that allows him to renegotiate his deal every 12 months. So he has the option to pull out of rugby league or the club, or go to a different club every 12 months. And obviously, the time of the contract is coming up. Whilst, you know, his management is expressing interest for him to play at fullback position, because at rugby league, the fullback position basically gets like a lot of the, like most of them, pretty much like one of the highest, if not the highest, but by my understanding, pretty much like the highest paid player in the team. So they want to move him to the fullback position at the Cox, who's currently held the position by James Tedesco, who is the New South Wales Blues captain, or the State of Origin Blues captain, essentially. Many consider him to be the best fullback in rugby league right now. So there are some talks about getting him to replace James Tedesco, Suaalii to replace James Tedesco at a fullback. Or else, according to a lot of speculations, is to go to Rugby Australia and play for the Wallabies. So yeah, this is pretty. This is exactly what the management wants from Suaalii, because stirring up this sort of stuff only helps him negotiate a better contract, whether it be in rugby league or rugby union. But just to give you an idea how, James Tedesco is a big deal. So after the Roosters won basically their back-to-back championship, the rugby league what do they call it? Yeah, the rugby NRL championship, they had a player called Latrell Mitchell, who was absolutely the most talented player I've ever seen. He was also wanted to play for the Roosters at the fullback position, and his request to play the fullback was declined. But this was like 3 or 4 years ago, like 4 years ago now or something, maybe even 5 years ago. His decline, and he was forced out of the club because of that. He had to go to the I think he's playing for the Rabbitohs right now, South Sydney Rabbitohs. So yeah, to get someone. So basically, they kept James Tedesco over Latrell Mitchell. I was mind blown. I thought they would not let Latrell Mitchell go because he was so good. But yeah, so there's some talks there. So it's very likely, according to a lot of these pundits from rugby league, like Gus Gould, they reckon he's probably gonna go to rugby union, because the thing is, if the Roosters don't agree with him, South Sydney, the Latrell Mitchell's club, the Wayne Bennett already, what's his name? The Rabbitohs already declined him initially. That's why he went to the Roosters. So it's gonna be really tough for him, and also this is kind of like a bad image for a lot of the rugby league clubs, because hey, it's like saying every 12 months you're gonna go through this, you're gonna pay more money, otherwise it's gonna go to another club. So this is kind of like a big, warning sign that to all the clubs that you're gonna be dealing with if you sign him. So there's a lot of talks between the pundits that he's probably gonna take the money and go to Rugby Australia. Yeah, so we shall wait and see. We'll keep an eye on this. I really hope that he doesn't come to Rugby Australia, because we really don't need to pay someone $10 million just because they want the money. And yeah, anyway, the rugby game of the weekend, the big one, new stadium, Sydney. Wallabies lost at home, 8 points to the 24 to the Springboks. The Springboks, the one thing I have to say about this game is that the Springboks brought a lot of passion, a lot of, mongrel, a lot of anger into this game. A lot of feelings, something that the Wallabies team hasn't had for so long now. I was really glad to see a bit of an emotional response to the Springboks after, some of those incidences on the field. Like Ioane standing up to Ibn Esbeth. I was really proud of him. I saw something in I've never seen Ioane standing up to somebody in a fight, kind of, in a situation like that before. I was really proud of him. I thought he was, he held his ground. He wasn't intimidated, it really showed like character, and yeah, I was really proud of him actually. I thought I was like the character, the toughness that he showed was something that we have not seen from any of the Wallaby players for a very, very long time now. So I was actually really happy to see Ioane following that. Obviously the big turnaround for that is the beer after the two players had a bit of a go. Let's just go through this now while we're talking about it. The two players had a bit of a go. Ibn Esbeth almost popped his eyes out, and Ioane kindly pushed it back in for him. And afterwards, the two guys had a beer in the sheds, making it up. It was good times. This is the spirit of rugby. I always felt, that's something that, for me was really important. When I play rugby, you kind of just leave it all out on the field. All the animosity, all the hatred, you leave it all out on the field, and you go, you go after the game, you go have a beer, or, go have some food, have some pizza or whatever that's waiting for you in the dressing room, and, have a talk and have a laugh about it. So that's the spirit of rugby. I really, this was a really, really good moment for everyone. Obviously, following there was, this game had a lot of heated moments because of the game the week before. A lot of the Springbok fans felt like, especially with the Nick White diving, was not happy. So a lot of the Springbok players came out this week with a lot of animosity towards Nick White and so on. Nigel Owens came out over the week, reviewed the incidents from the week before, not last week, the week before, the first game between the Wallabies. Some interesting stuff he kind of talked about. So he talked about the obviously the beer slap. He reckons that Faf de Klerk, everything he was attempting to do was legal, but the execution was poor, and the fact that he clipped Nick on the face deserved to be penalized. But in his opinion, it's probably not severe enough to be a yellow card. So he did think that was a penalty where he clips Nick on the face, but he didn't think that was a yellow card. However, he did say that if he had been on the field and he saw Nick White taking a dive following that incident, he would have reversed the penalty for bad sportsman conduct. Yeah, so that is Nigel Owens' basically take on the issue. He thinks that is not really acceptable. That is not an acceptable reaction, and it's against the value of the game, which I do agree. We really don't want to see this sort of stuff. We saw a little bit of this in Argentina team as well. Pablo Metera 2 weeks ago also did a bit of try to milk a penalty as well. But yeah, we should really kind of like talk about that. I do agree that that should be a penalty if you try to take a dive. Taking a dive should be a penalty against you. Also, he talked about the other incident that a lot of people were talking about is the Mapimpi tackle, which is kind of like followed up the next week, which is to the fight with Ibn Esbeth and everything. So it was like in the first incident, obviously, Corin Betty runs across the field, puts a shoulder into Mapimpi. In my opinion, I thought that was a yellow card, to be honest. I thought that was a shoulder charge. But the referees on the field said that he had a one-arm wrap, and that was sufficient enough for them to call it a good tackle. The Nigel Owens had a look at it. He thinks that Corambetti leads with his shoulder and his arm is tucked by his side. There's no attempt for wrapping for him. Therefore, this would have been a penalty. Could have been a penalty try, could have even been a yellow card. So, yeah, so he thinks it's foul play. He doesn't actually say it's yellow card, but he says it's foul play. So this could have been a penalty try if this was Nigel Owens. But well, yeah, so very different to the interpretations of the referees on the field, which I do think was correct because we've all seen incidents, similar tackles like this before, be penalized just for consistency's sakes. That was not a sufficient enough wrap for him to be a legal tackle, in my opinion. Obviously, the Springboks beating the Wallabies in Sydney marked the how long was it? Marked the first win in Aussie soil since 2013, so 19 years, and then that was in Perfingtang and the Western Province of Australia. So that was obviously a long time ago, and the last time the Springboks won in Sydney was in 1993, so over 3 decades ago, almost 3 decades, I guess. Yeah, that's not over 3 decades, almost 3 decades. But yeah, so it's been really rough for the Springboks trying to win in Australia, and they finally broke the hoodoo in Sydney on the weekend. Not to say that this was not to say that this has anything to do with losing, but the Wallabies had a lot of injuries, like just during the game, like bizarre amount of injuries. Hunter Paisami, HIA, Nola Lasio hurt himself really early as well, and the Wallabies only had 2 back reserves on the bench, and Tanela Tupou hurt himself on the bench. While he was wearing the jersey ready to go, he hurt himself on the bench. I don't know why they didn't make a pre-match decision to get someone else in, but they just had him on the bench and hoped that he was going to be okay to go, but he wasn't. So he did not play at all. So this was really, really a lot of, American Corambetti looks like he was carrying a bit of a injury as well on his calf. So it was a really, really, brutal situation for the Wallabies. Obviously, the statisticians from the South African fan club came out and pointed out that the Springboks, if they wanted to win the championship, they need to execute a lot better to finishing off those tries. There was way too many tries on the weekend, opportunities on the weekend that was missed out. There was like a tweet from former Springbok to Rassie Erasmus that the team had the team was not executing their opportunities appropriately, and Rassie actually replied saying that that's something that we can improve on. The Springboks can improve on. So yeah, it's something that the Springboks needs to improve because the All Blacks is currently leading just by a point difference over over everybody else, and bonus points as well. So despite everybody have 1 win, 1 loss, 2 wins, 2 losses, sorry, the difference is the tries and the points. For the Springboks as well, which I just talked about the Wallabies kind of injury concerns. The Springboks also had a lot of injuries going into this game, following the first test up between with the Wallabies. Handré Pollard and Lukamiu seems to be definitely out for the season for foreseeable future, as they both return to their club to assess their injuries, so they are not even in the squads anymore. And they both suffered a knee injury. Elton Jantjies and Peter Step du Toit. Jantjies had hand injuries, Peter Step du Toit had a knee injury, are both going to be expected to be playing against Argentina, so they will be recovering pretty soon. So that's very minor stuff for them, so they will be okay. So so that is kind of like the injury situation for the Springboks. Obviously, there was also an incident last week. A player was caught urinating on school grounds at Randwick Boys High School in a session early. Rassie obviously came out and said it was fake news, but this was so basically it was alleged that the principal, Lance Rascal, saw the incident, and then when he was approached by the Sydney by the Herald, Sydney Morning Herald, whatever they're called. He actually denied it. There was incident. However, there was a New South Wales Department of Education spokesperson came out and confirmed that there was an incident and no student was involved in witnessing this incident. So yeah, crisis averted. So yeah, and some of you guys was just, when I first reported this, was saying that, oh, this is not a big deal. Everybody, urinates or whatever in public. The issue here, it's not like, the issue here is the fact that it's on a school. There will be children involved. I will say, if you were drunk and you take a leak out on the street and the police sees you, they probably give you a fine if they don't have anything else better to do. But the reality is, this is in a school ground, and if a kid was, saw this, this could be really bad. Yeah, because children are involved, and this could go, the parents could be angry, and you could potentially be arrested for indecent exposure to minors. Yeah, that's a completely different thing from, urinating in public and getting called by the police. It's very, very serious stuff. I just want to clarify that, just in case that a lot of you guys misunderstood what I was talking about. We were talking about this, and obviously the Wallabies, they talk about frustrated, they didn't play well against the Springboks, yada yada yada. There was one thing that there's a lot of frustration came out of Jem Slipper after the game. He really wanted everyone to feel the pain losing at home in Sydney. I think that's a good thing. Feeling there is a lack of emotion from the Wallabies for a very long time now. Like, winning and losing is just becoming like whatever, just another day in the office. We lost another game, whatever. So really, like the winning and losing is really stopped meaning something to the team. Do you feel like James has done the right thing as the captain to try to to really drill in that this is not really something that we should be proud of, something that they should be they should be really take seriously. To be fair, I the way that the lack of passion, the lack of like emotion from the Wallabies players, I do feel like a lot of that stems from Super Rugby as well. A lot of the Super Rugby teams really don't make much of an effort to win a game or try to finish off a close game. We saw this with the Rebels a lot, and we saw this, I would say that the Reds given up pretty much against the Crusaders after playing them at home two games in a row before the in the elimination rounds. I thought the Reds basically given up on that. I thought the Brumbies put up a decent effort to try to take out one of the New Zealand teams, but wasn't able to do so. So yeah, I do feel like, especially when it comes to the big the Waratahs as well, basically given up against the who was it they're playing against? I think it might be against the Chiefs or something. They're basically given up like halfway through the game wasn't even over, and the assistant coach on the sideline was saying like, yeah, we're pretty happy with the result already, happy to go home even if we lose. Like, literally the assistant coach was talking about it, interviewing on the sideline whilst the game was happening. So I thought this was really bad culture that was already brewing in all the teams in rugby, in Australian rugby. Like, it really makes me angry every time I see that sort of stuff. Teams giving up or not taking the game seriously in Super Rugby, and that's essentially trickling into the national team. So the other game of the weekend, it's Fozzie, saved. The New Zealand Rugby dominated Argentina, 53 points to 3 at Hamilton. Not Hamilton. Yeah, it's Hamilton, right? Waikato. And this was, a very, very, classic All Black play. This was in the rain, and the All Blacks did not, hardly had any handling error. So this was very impressive. And the Argentinian side was on the other side, really struggled with the wet conditions, lots of drop balls, really not able to build much of momentum when they had the ball. And the All Blacks were just freely running around like the rain had stopped when they had the boys, and it looked like it was just spectacular performance by the All Blacks all around. Some really standouts I thought was Ioane, not Akira, what's his name? Rico Ioane. He actually looked like a world-class center this game. Really took on the line and created space out wide for his players. And yeah, really carved it up in that center field as he was, paid to do. And I thought I saw shades of Conrad Smith with that performance from Rieko Ioane, which was really, really, really impressive. Also, so following the game, there was, a lot of animosity as well between the two teams. So obviously, there was an incident. Pablo Metera snubbed Dan Colesy for a handshake. I wonder why. So basically, there was some incident during the game where the two guys would literally, you can see on TV, they were like, talking to each other, and Pablo was like walking, like kind of like chest bumping Colesy a little bit, and after the game, obviously what happened? Yeah, goes up for a handshake. Yeah, so Metera goes up for a handshake. Let's get this video up for a handshake. Oh, sorry. Colesy goes up for a handshake. Give him a bit of that. The best part of this is the Colesy's reaction, right? Metera's just like piss off, you pest. And then Colesy's just like, all right, just like, alrighty, just like, all right, I'll just shake the next guy's hand. And then Colesy's reaction is the best. Pretty funny stuff. But yeah, there's a bit more animosity out of the game between the two players. And also, there's a bit of a awkward moment after the game between the coaching box. So obviously, the All Blacks has two new assistant coaches in Joe Schmidt and what's his name? Crusaders coach Ryan. Is it? James Ryan. Yeah, James Ryan. And it's a bit of an awkward handshake. You watched it. This is really, really awkward, actually. So everyone's shaking hands. He clearly sees both the guys. He clearly sees everyone. Shakes one guy's hand. Joe Schmidt's like, hey. All right, mate. All right. Just completely ignores it. So after the match, he was asked about this. He was like, oh, I did not see Joe. I was like, oh, you clearly saw him, mate. You clearly saw him, right? Look. There's Joe. He's like, oh, hey, mate, how you going? There's another guy. He shakes the other guy's hand and just left Joe hanging. He even, touched his hand and just, let it go. Oh, man. Oh, what's going on there? Obviously, there's a lot of, the speculation is, even from New Zealand, is that Joe Schmidt is the likely person going to be taking over the reins at the All Blacks after Ian Foster. This is the talk from New Zealand media as well. That is generally how the All Blacks kind of works. It's assistant coach being promoted to the head coach, and Joe Schmidt is the most likely person in line to take over that position, and not James Ryan. Maybe that's why. Maybe why he's so angry. So next up, the All Blacks are going to be missing out a couple of players going to the Blue World Cup this weekend. Obviously, the most important sporting event of the year for me, the Blue World Cup. And Adi Savia will be heading home to attend the birth of his third child, and Shannon Frizzell has been ruled out due to a rib injury. So two injuries for the All Blacks. Luke Jacobson steps back in for the All Blacks squad, and that's basically the changes from the All Blacks team. Obviously, what's his name? Roger Tuivasa-Sheck has been released to play club rugby at the NPC as well. So the All Blacks had a couple big names missing, which especially Adi Savia. Shannon Frizzell has been playing really well for the All Blacks as well. How that's gonna turn out, we'll have to see. But Luke Jacobson, not a bad addition to the All Black team. I thought he was snubbed from the All Blacks selections this year. I thought he's probably deserved the spot following the Chiefs season, but yeah, he's finally gonna get a shot back in the fold. Obviously, there was a lot of talks of what happened for the Pumas after beating the All Blacks the week before. Cheika came out, basically pointed out to two factors. One is the physicality the All Blacks brought that the Argentina was not able to match. Also the wet conditions. the Argentina was not able to adapt and handle it as well as the All Blacks did. So for Checker, the game plan was really simple for him. Front up, the physicality in the middle of the field, which is the platform that he's wanted to see for the team. That was not there for the Argentina side. I'm really proud of the Argentina's performance this week, even though the scoreline says it was really, says pretty badly for the Argentina. Unlike the first time Argentina beat the All Blacks in 2020, they basically went, we beat the All Blacks and let's have a break. So the next week they put on their reserves. Everybody was kind of just out there having a bit of fun times, not really taking the second test seriously against the All Blacks, just basically throwing it away. This time they definitely did not throw the game away. They had a plan, they had a setup. They didn't put on all the reserves. They had a bit of a shuffling around between the bench and the starting players. They did not just put on the B team. So they definitely had a, you can see on the game during the game. I saw they tried to spread the ball. They tried to break the All Blacks gain line, and they too many handling errors led to not able to do anything with that. And then we can see the frustrations of the players on the field as well. Clearly wanted to put a back-to-back good performances in, and this was not something that they wanted to happen. So yeah, that is really important, I think, for the team. Not the fact that they tried. Unlike the last time they beat the All Blacks, they just given up. The All Blacks did have two big name returns to the game. Brodie Retallick and Beauden Barrett returned to the bench. Moving on. Yes, so the French, Bernard Laporte, you probably know this guy from, if you're a Kiwi, you know this guy in the 2007 Rugby World Cup when the French cheated to beat the All Blacks with a forward pass to Michalak. You can see the camera cutting to him, cheering in the French box. So this is the guy. Yeah, he is the guy. He's getting investigated for corruption. Yeah, a lot of Kiwis might be cheering, considering the this guy was at the he was the guy anyway. So he was basically accused of favoritism. He awarding sponsorship contracts for his national side to Altrad, currently sponsoring the All Blacks, by the way. And there was a few high, this is a really, so yeah, essentially corruption. The other thing, so what they call it is the illegal influence peddling and passive corruption, mostly for the benefit of Altrad. So that's the official kind of statement for him. Some smaller details of what happened. Basically, he's the one that negotiated the Altrad logo to be put on the French national jersey, the first sponsorship to be put on the national jersey ever. 1.8 million euro. So that's one of the things that a lot of people are kind of not happy about. Also, there was a incident where there was a fine against Altrad company. Where they allegedly this was supposed to be a 70,000 fine, and after Laporte called the stepped in, the fine was dropped to 20,000. So he had something to do with that. There was also another incident where there's a link. There was another link between a guy called Claude Archer, who was part of the French Rugby Union from 2007 to 2018, where he had a sports company, where they were issued 4, contracts to do 4 missions as a bid for the Rugby World Cup. So I assume the missions are I guess activities that he would do to promote the Rugby World Cup to go to France. There was supposed to be 4, and they allegedly only conducted 3. So one of the missions were never carried out. But regardless, Laporte still signed up on 4 and paid off 4 missions. So they paid him an extra mission that was not conducted. so which was worth 20,000 euros. And so yeah, there's a lot of talks about this. Obviously, his lawyers come out and saying that he's going to be fine. This is a bit of just fake news as always. And yeah, we shall see. The thing that does concern me is that Altrad is currently sponsoring New Zealand Rugby, the company that is allegedly involved in the corruption charges with Laporte. So yeah, some other news in Japan. The Japanese preliminary squad for the autumn international, or I guess November international test series has been named. 52-man squad. So this squad is obviously going to be trimmed down a bit as the team gets closer to the November test series. And there was 28 forwards, 24 backs, and Himeno-san, Kazuki Himeno, the big number 8, is named in the squad. He was injured a little bit, but he will be fine. The team will start off with the Japanese A versus Australia A team in October, but I think they have a few big names coming up. They got the All Blacks coming up. Let's see, where's the team that they're going to be playing? They're going to be playing the All Blacks. They're going to be playing... Yeah, they're going to play All Blacks, England, and France. So, and an Australia A match. So, yeah, really, really good opportunity for Japan. And something exciting rugby coming up for the Brave Blossoms. Italy there's a big name from Italy, has withdrawn from rugby. So, Monty Ioane, the nephew of Digby Ioane, the former Wallaby great, in a mutual agreement, decided to withdraw from playing rugby. So he was playing rugby in Italy for Benetton Rugby, and he basically terminated his contract due to mental illness. Yeah, he's basically coming home to Australia to spend time with his wife and children. He did talk about how winning and losing starting to just become overbearing for him. He did represent Italy in the Six Nations as well. So, and he was really, really good for Italy as well. He's probably, the best player, in my opinion, on the field for Italy team, at least in the back lines. And yeah, he's going to be off due to mental illness. Speaking of mental illness, Michael Hooper, the other man that's suffering some mental health issues, he is confirmed last week that he will be out for the rest of the Rugby Championship. And a lot of people thought he was literally named to play Argentina in the first test in Argentina, and then basically like the night before he was like, I'm not handling this, and he was sent home immediately. And then people thought he might be playing again against the Springboks. No, and confirmed last week he won't be part of any of the Rugby Championship this season. Is he gonna play in the November Test series? We have to wait and see. But yeah, hopefully he gets well, because I think maybe it's because Rugby World Cup's coming up next year. I'd rather for him to just get everything in order and have his mind cleared and ready to go for Rugby World Cup, because that's going to be a very high pressure cooker for him next year. So better off for him to just get himself back to form before the Rugby World Cup. Finally, England's back to training. Who cares? And that's the news. That's the news, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on any of these articles. And I do appreciate you being here. We have a bit of a week off before the Bloody Slow Cup coming up. And yeah, we'll have to talk about that when it's closer, when the teams are announced. And thanks for watching, guys. Have a good weekend. Or week. Cheers.